Hey, it's Walt here. I was in Scotland the other day. We had gone over to climb 𝗪𝗪𝗧, which is the highest mountain in the United Kingdom. And it's located in the Highlands of Scotland. And like a good mountaineer, I had begun to map out our climb a couple months ago now and plan the route out. And about 10 days ago or so, I began looking at the weather forecast, studying the forecasts for the valleys and for up high. And as I watched the forecasts, I saw the weather just really deteriorating. The forecasts were just grotesquely horrible. And as the days approached to when we were going to get on the airplane and fly to Scotland, the weather got worse and worse and worse. And we flew over and arrived late in the evening and drove the 2.5 hours up through the fog and the rain to Fort William, where we had a little Airbnb, and it was drizzly and damp and really ugly. And the next morning, very early, around 4:30, I got up and I looked at the forecast again. And the forecast had changed. It had improved dramatically. In fact, for the next 7 or 8 hours, it was going to be partly cloudy. And the weather wasn't supposed to come back in again until mid to late afternoon. And so we motivated, we packed up, we got out on the trail, and as we climbed up into the hanging valley just below where the serious climbing was going to start, the sun began to poke through and the clouds opened up and there was blue sky and the light began to dance through the valley floor, and there was this warmth and just this beauty, this magnificent beauty. And I thought, wow, this is how fortunate we are to be here, and how glad I am to have bought the ticket. Because if I hadn't bought the ticket, I wouldn't be there in that moment having that experience. And, you know, so many times if we're doing something close at hand, close to home, and we get a forecast like that, it's easy to make excuses. It's easy to say, it's going to be bad, so we'll just stay home. And it's easy to get involved in other projects, house projects and work projects, and to completely commit the time. But we couldn't do that in this instance because we had bought the ticket. And as I often do when I climb, I think about things. I reflect on things. I think about some of these videos that I like to shoot and share with you. And I was thinking, what a wonderful metaphor, this idea of buying the ticket, of going all in, of making something inevitable. So you actually have to do it. And I thought, wow, that's a good metaphor. I'm actually gonna think about that, maybe write about that. And over dinner that evening, I'm sharing my great revelation with Anne, and she said, well, you actually did write about it. You know, it's the 5th section of Journeys on the Edge, your book, Journeys on the Edge. It's the section's called Buying the Ticket. And I thought, good reminder that we need to teach what we most need to know. But I did. I went back and I read what I wrote about buying the ticket, about making it inevitable, about making those things that we value most inevitable, about going all in, about committing. I remember years ago when I was thinking about becoming a speaker, I was working with a coach, Jonathan, and Jonathan was a great coach. And in every coaching session, I would share with Jonathan how much I wanted to be a speaker, how I wanted to get out on big stages and have a big impact and be in front of lots of people and share my message with the world. And at one point in time, he got so tired of hearing me talk about what I wanted to do. He said, well, when are you going to do it? I said, well, you know, as soon as I get my speech together, he said, stop. He said, before we have our next session, you're going to get that date on the calendar. You're going to book the gig. I said, but Jonathan, I don't even have a gig. I don't even have a speech. I said, I don't care. Book the gig. And I did. I mean, I booked it 6 months out. But there was nothing more compelling, nothing more, that sense of urgency to get it done, to make it real, because it was there, it was booked. I had booked the gig, so I better get ready. And I remember when Ann and I were looking for this little house that we have here now in Ireland. It was completely fanciful, but we had this sense that we really wanted to be here, but we had just come through the horrible recession of 2008, and we were building our business, and it was completely unrealistic. And then we find this beautiful little place, which is our dream home. And we had no idea how we were going to do it, but we knew that it was really important to do, and we wrote the check. We wrote the deposit check. We had no idea how we were going to make it happen, but we wrote the check. And I remember back too when I was thinking about leaving the big firm to start my own practice, how I kept on delaying and deferring until one day I decided, I'm just going to put the date on the calendar. And I did. It was August 1st, and I had start my own practice there. And the date got pushed out a little bit, but having the date there made it much more likely that I was going to do something. I bought the ticket. I went all in. And I think it is a good metaphor because we all have the propensity to delay, to defer, to put off the things that we dream of, that we most want to do, that matter deeply to our hearts, those things that drive us forward. We put them off. We put off the projects, we put off the writing the book, writing the memoir, launching the product, going out and getting that new job that makes our heart sing. We put off making that career pivot and creating that new work that we love. We put it off, we delay, we tell ourselves the story that we have time, and we don't have time. The clock is ticking. And so this idea of committing to our lives, committing to those things that we really value, buying the ticket, going all in, and not the lottery ticket, because that connotes this idea that life is about luck and chance. We have the opportunity to co-create these things that are our lives. We have the opportunity to make them extraordinary. These things that are our lives, the greatest show on earth. Buy the ticket, make it inevitable, and make it a great rest of the day and great rest of the week. Talk soon.